Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast. I'm going to do quite a lot of these from my book called It's All About Love, which I'll be putting up online this year probably. And I've just taken excerpts from it. So today we're doing Loving a Controller. Oh my God, there's so many controllers out there, aren't there? And they come in all different shapes and sizes. Some of them are very overt, like they're controlling because you can just see it because they're bossing everyone around. And others are more quiet and silent and do it with their sweet smile, but they still want control. If you want to love a controller, you have to change how you respond to them, I think, if you decide to do it this way. Sometimes they're in our family, so we still want to be with them. Say, our mum's really controlling, or we might have a brother like that. Sometimes they're in our friendship groups, and we've got history with them, and we want to stay with them, so we'll do it that way. And sometimes they're at work and or our partner. The most important thing you need to understand is that controllers seek to have control because they feel powerless. Because anyone who has their own personal power doesn't seek control. They'll only do it as a safety thing to tell a child off who's going to run across the street, or to alert a friend to something that's going to be a problem, and they might want to give some advice. But that still isn't really control that I'm talking about. They don't try and control their lives as much as they try and control everybody else's lives, and they meddle and interfere. We usually give really bad advice, I found as well. If you've got controllers in your life, you need to work out how to deal with them. Now, I had a lot of trouble with them because I'd grown up in a controlling household as a child, super control, and then I got married to someone who was very controlling, and therefore I'd sort of lived it quite a lot, and I was sort of almost immune to it in a sense. I just slipped into it. But as I picked up my personal power and became more myself and with my own belief systems and feelings, and grew and grew and grew, I found that I was actually having a lot of trouble with the controllers. They had an effect on me that I wanted to resist or control back, and then we'd get into trouble. So there's actually 3 ways you deal with a controller. The first way is you just do what they want or let them have their own way. The second way is you argue with them, and that can kind of get a bit nasty sometimes with them. So you'll end up having an argument with them. And the third way is you just ignore them and don't do it and passively resist. These are the ways that mostly people do. Sometimes in the end you might have to walk away from a relationship as well. For me, I've came up with a solution which I found worked really well, because instead of getting caught up in their control and either having to submit to it, not wanting to, or by having an argument with them about it, which I didn't want to do either, and then I looked like I was being controlling, I just adopted a different attitude. And my attitude in loving them was to say, you obviously need to have a lot of control in your life, usually about a lot of meaningless stuff as well, in my opinion, but I'm going to let you have that. I'm going to give you that. But when I went to my friend's house one day and she asked me to cut up the tomatoes, and I cut them up in slices. Apparently I was supposed to cut them up in quarters, so I got told off for doing that. So instead of having a little issue about it, I just cut them up in quarters. Whatever they wanted to do, that to me was meaningless and kind of like not important. I just let them have it. If they want to put the rubbish bin next to the other bin, let them do it. If they want to put the knives on that side and not this side, let them do it. All these things are meaningless. And it's much better for your relationship that you let them do all these things rather than have an argument with them. But then you might come to a space where in your own personal power, you will not do it. They will want you to do something. It's not resonating with you. You don't want to do it. And that's when you pull in your, no, I'm not comfortable with it. If you want to go, you go, but I don't feel like going. I'm not going to do it this time. That's the best way I found to deal with them. Things that weren't important to me, I let them control it. But things that were actually really important to me, I stood my ground with it. I stood in my own personal power and basically said no. Now, if you were the person who's controlling and abusive, you might have to think about this, because you have to always keep yourself safe, because controllers can often be quite abusive as well. It sort of sometimes goes together. You will also have to understand that if you say no to them and you don't want to do it, that you will have trouble with them. Now, they will maybe rant, scream and get angry with you. That's one thing. But they can also do like passive-aggressive things to you. They won't stop talking to you. They'll sulk. They'll shut you out. They'll stonewall you. They'll do these things that will make you feel like crap, but you just stand your ground with it. You be loving to them still. And I would say that to them. Look, I really love you a lot, you know that, but I just can't do this. Okay, you go and do it, or I'm not going to do it, or I'm not comfortable with it, like I said before. But you can say in that sentence that I love you. Now, we all know the controllers. We all have to live with them. We can't live a life without them. And control is seen as power down on earth here. Everyone thinks that if you're in control of everything, you're fine. But control is an illusion, because even when you think you're controlling things, they're going to work out pretty much how they want. And with people, definitely an illusion. People will not tell you they're not going to do it. They will just go away and later on just do what they want. They'll just pacify you for the time. I think controllers need a lot of love. They've often come out of households where they've either had one or both parents be very controlling, so they've actually learned the behaviour. And it also could be part of their genetics to be controlling. And your job is to love them unconditionally, but still make your stand and show them that's not control. That's just being honest and truthful. I don't want to go to the baseball show. I don't like the people very much, and I'm not going this time. You can just do it that way. It's simple. Because as much as they have choices, so do you have choices. And you'll find that controllers will often love quite conditionally. That's what I noticed. They sort of use conditional love. So if you don't do as you're told, you get punished. They withdraw the love. Whereas if you continue to come from unconditional love with them, like I love you, and if you need to go and change the car, put it in another parking space because it's shady, okay, off you go, do it. Don't worry about what they're doing. You're giving them their life. You're not trying to control them. You're loving them unconditionally. Controllers are really hard work. I find them really tiring. They also often go on rants about stuff for quite a long time, giving you the lecture. You get the big lecture. And then you can just say, yeah, okay, and I'll go away and think about it. And then you just do what you need to do. If you're listening to this podcast, you're living or you have controllers around you and you're finding them really hard to live with. And from my experience, my best solution was let them do whatever they want that you don't care about or isn't really important, and then pull in on the stuff that's important for you and stand your ground in a safe place. That's my advice. I don't think you should headbutt them. Many relationships begin in love, especially the romantic ones. We're madly in love with each other, and it's all based on love, 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 love. Then once you get to know the person, the controlling part of their nature comes out, and before you know it, you might be coming from love, but they're now coming more from control, controlling your life, ringing you up 6 times to tell you, have you paid the electricity bill or something? They'll do that kind of thing. They'll hound you. And if you're not careful, what happens next is, particularly in the love relationship, like a partnership, they will get you into a power play. You're being controlled and you're trying to control back. And you'll be fighting a lot. You'll notice you fight a lot. And this is why I'm saying to you, think about what it's worth fighting for, you know, because some of these things, the fights will erode the relationship, and now you'll have a power relationship instead of a love relationship. I think it's important to know how to deal with controllers because they can wreck lots of relationships, and they will often, having the control of the relationship is so important, and the person that will actually sacrifice fixing the relationship, going to counselling, doing whatever necessary, sabotaging that to maintain the control. That's how important it is to them. The love of the relationship or their relationship with their dad or their mum or the person at work isn't as important as being in control. They have a really strong need to do that. And I feel if you allow that need to be met in useless places and useless to you, meaningless things, they get to express themselves. And then if you just don't get engaged in the fights about who put the rubbish bin out or something stupid like that, I think you'll find that your life will be more calm, it'll be more easy. In the control, you'll probably find they have a lot of anger. That's why you need to be very careful with controllers. You'll know your partner or your mum who don't press the button if you don't have to. And sometimes just being quiet works really well. when they're being controlling and carrying on and telling you didn't pack the dishwasher up right, you should have washed that plate, just don't say anything. Just go, oh, okay. Just like that. Do not engage, because you'll end up easily having a fight with them because they want to dissipate their anger. They want to get rid of their anger. I'm hoping this helps you. Don't sweat the small stuff, as they say. Just stand up for the big stuff. And I found it really liberating. I was like, I don't care if you'll cut the watermelon in slices or wedges anymore. Do whatever makes you happy. It was like that. I don't care that the window is dirty. If you want to go and wash it, feel free to go wash it. I just felt really liberated. I didn't feel I was controlled anymore. I felt I had choices because I could choose what I would or wouldn't do. And I felt I gave them a lot of, like a long leash to run around and do all their controlling things and just let them off and go and do it. And you'll find out if you're living with them, they'll be quite controlling, like, have to mow the lawn now. And that can veer into obsessive behaviour. Anyone who's got obsessive behaviour will often need to maintain control to make themselves feel better and not so stressed. And that's the other thing. Controllers are quite stressed people because they're trying to control everything and it's so tiring. Let them have control of some of the things and then they might feel less stressed. This might go against what a lot of people think, but there's things to stand up for and there's things to just let it go. And that's what I found that made my life much easier and I was much more calm about it once I gave them control in all those areas. It just felt really good. I felt like, oh, wow, just go and do whatever you want and I'll just speak up when I need to. And I didn't need to speak up very often. I just let them live their life. And that's unconditional love, isn't it? To let people be who they are and let them do mostly what they do. Unless, of course, you're getting in trouble, being hurt, or it becomes not a good situation for you. Then you pull it in. I think this is helpful, and I hope you change how you deal with your controllers. Just let them have it. Who cares? Most of it's all useless crap anyhow, in my opinion. But on the big stuff, it's really important that you stand your ground, that's all. And if you're listening to this, you don't want to land up becoming them, because that is the biggest problem, because they will whip you into controlling back. And I found that before I knew it, I was kind of in that control thing, and I didn't want to be that. I wanted people to be able to do what they wanted to do that made them happy, because I loved them. And so you just let them do whatever they want to do, pretty much. And then you'll find you'll feel different. I was more relaxed after I let the lady. I used to then, when I went to her house, if ever I went to this lady's house, I'd go, so are we cutting the tomatoes in quarters or do you want slices? I would do that to protect myself from doing it wrong, and she, oh, no, we're doing slices today. Okay, thank you. You want thick or thin slices? No, thin ones. Okay. On this plate? Yes. And that's how I did it. And it worked perfectly. And I didn't get so cheesed off with them when they were trying to control me, because it used to drive me insane when they do it. Like, oh, God, this isn't important. But I just did whatever they wanted and then they were happy. They weren't stressed because it was in slices. I was happy because I just let them do whatever they want and I didn't care about the tomatoes, and it was making a much more relaxed environment. That's what I'm trying to say. Less stress for them, less stress for me. So I'm hoping you have fun with your controller this week, and I'm sending you lots of love and lots of light.